We were looking for ways to mark this august occasion, and we have imported from Channel 9 Eyewitness News Will Balker, who today will present Meet the Spirits, a Sunday morning program which allows you to meet the spirits of people that you never knew you even knew, but you know about. Today, we are going to have the august, wonderful pleasure of introducing you to the spirits of none other than Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big hand. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Love your spats.
My shoes.
We'll start today's questions with a question for Myrtle. Now, Myrtle, I heard that you were very ill at one time. The doctors and medicine couldn't help you overcome this chronic familial disease. So today, even in spirit form, you're looking healthy and have well-being. So how did this happen, Myrtle?
Well, everything you said, Will, is very true. I was so sick, and I'd been to all the doctors. I tried all the medicine. I got no relief, and I was in despair. Then what happened? E.B. Weeks, who was a Christian Science teacher, came to Kansas City for a series of lectures. And what happened was they said, Myrtle, you should go. Maybe she can help you. Well, I was desperate to try anything, so one night I said, come on, Charles, let's go to the lecture. Did you want to? I never asked you.
I'll never tell.
No, I'll never tell. Now I'm in trouble. But what happened at that lecture is I heard one thing, and only one thing. You are a child of God, therefore you do not inherit sickness. And it was like burning inside of me. By the time I left there, I kept saying over and over in my head, and over on the way home, and Charles said, please, stop it. But I kept going on and on with this affirmation. And what happened over a period of time was I realized the life of God was flowing through me. And all those beliefs about I was an invalid or I had to be an invalid just disappeared. So then I made a discovery. The discovery I made is the life of God is within us. All life is energy in some form. So if that was true, I said to myself, how do we communicate with the intelligence that's in that life? It has to be guided and directed. How do we do it? So I said, by talking and thinking. So I started talking to the cells of my body and the tissues and the organs day after day. Sat in my room for 2 hours a day and told my body how wonderful it was. Told my liver I loved it and my lungs how good they breathed and all those things. And when nothing happened, I was patient. Then one day my body started to respond. And over time, I was completely healed of a chronic disease. It was over. Some other things happened I hadn't counted on. Actually, by loving my body and all these words of love, I had connected the power of love in me, and that's what healed me. So no longer did I say gossipy things, and Charles can validate this. Did I, Charles? No. You said say, no. I did not gossip. I did not criticize. I didn't judge. But I didn't want to. There was so much love in me that there was no room for that. So what happened then? I wrote about my discovery. I want everybody to know it, everybody to use it. Look what it can do for you. And then I began to share it with my friends and people. And people came, and they were healed.
That's amazing. It's a great story. Now, we have it from Myrtle's point of view. Charles, how was it for you?
Well, to be truthful,
Oh, no.
at the time this all happened, I wasn't sure. I really was a little skeptical. I was a thinker. I studied a lot of things. And I didn't quite understand exactly what Myrtle was experiencing, but I knew she was experiencing something. And that caught my attention. You know, Myrtle, I've told you many times, I don't know what planet you're from.
Yeah, you have.
And the things you get me into, such as this.
I heard that too.
But I knew I could not deny the change that had happened to you. And this began to touch my heart. And I thought the only way I know to do this is just get quiet and just let us see if we can connect to the Spirit. And the Spirit could tell us what was going on. But I knew something big was going on. I just didn't know what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, how did this movement that we are all part of get started?
Well, actually, I'll tell them about that, Charles. It started in our living room. Well, Unity as we know it today started in our very living room, because every night at 10 o'clock we went in our living room and we prayed. We prayed for people who were in trouble, who were sick, and we invited our neighbors to come. But, you know, in the beginning it was mostly just me and Charles most every night. But then people began to hear what we were doing with our prayers, and what happened is they started sending letters with prayer requests, and they started calling us on the phone, and we had developed it into what we called the Society of Silent Help. It had a name, it had an office, it had grown so big, and also at that time we were not knowing that it would turn into Silent Unity. A 24/7 worldwide prayer ministry started in our living room. Sometimes I can't believe it.
And Charles, how did this movement become what we know today? What name did you come up with?
Well, I remember us, as we began to meet, just meditating on the idea of what was going on and what can we call it. And it was just it was almost like an epiphany just came through to me right out of the ethers itself, and I heard the word unity. And I knew that was it. And we all did. We just felt that we had found the name of whatever it was that was happening. We weren't sure exactly what was happening, but we knew it was all about unity. Myrtle, remember, we studied so many different schools. We studied Buddhism, Hinduism, and we just found things in all of them that we agreed with, and it just helped us to understand that truth was everywhere. It wasn't in one religion, but to be unified into what we call unity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect name, Charles. Perfect name.
Thank you.
You started in Kansas City on your little house on Tracy Street, but then I guess you suddenly realized that there was a lot more space requirements. So how did you go about coming up with more space?
Well, what happened is we started outgrowing our little house on Tracy Street where we started, and then we started building buildings on Tracy Street in Kansas City, and we outgrew those. So, tell them what happened, Charles.
Well, of course, I'd been in the real estate business, so I was very interested, knew much about that area that we had felt to finally settle in, which was around the Kansas City area. And so we started looking at property, and we found some land that we really liked, and that's the land we purchased. And we wanted to call that Unity Village, and that's where it was born anyway. Mm-hmm. Whether we called it that at that time, it was born on that piece of land that we purchased.
Right. We had a great vision for our center. We saw it had been the hub where the unity message would spread out through the whole world, and people would come and study with us. Remember that? We bought that property. Wow, that vision seemed like it was just fit for that property.
And then the bottom just fell out. It was the time of World War II, and of course the Depression came. So we decided to dispense from the building, and we went back to Tracy Street again.
Yeah.
where we begin to just wait on the Spirit and wait for guidance and leadership.
Yeah. Remember when we moved out there, or when we bought the property, there was one farmhouse on it? And then let me tell you what happened. Our son, Rickett, built the first building besides the farmhouse. He built that building for me. He built my dream house, and it was called the Arches. And it was in the middle of the apple orchard, and it had no kitchen. That was a surprise he had for me. So what happened was, Grandma Fillmore came on down, and she moved into the farmhouse so we didn't starve to death, and fed us very well. All the rest of her life, she took care of taking care of the children and everything. But you know, Charles, I know how much you wanted me to have that kitchen put in.
Sure did.
It bugged me a lot about it, really. But I wanted to remain like it was, because I wanted our house to be filled with food for thought, and food that was inspiration, and food of blessings, and not the food that created all those stacks of dirty dishes for me to wash.
It's hard to do in the middle of an apple orchard, though.
Yes, indeed.
So tell us about how your faith got you through the Depression.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We got through that because of our faith. You know, we had a rough time, a lot of rough times at that time when we were running out of money. So we called our staff together so we could pray. And one person came in and he said, "We better be praying we get some money here." And we said, no. We pray that our faith pulls out.
Yes, that was a
That's
great
how
moment.
we got through it. And what happened is we weathered the Depression, and then we could build again. But one of the things we were doing with building, we were building on solid rock of principle, not that shifting sand of personality. So unity that was then is as alive today as it was long, long ago.
So many, many years ago, you both came up with a covenant. Would you share that covenant with us?
Absolutely, and this is what got us through too, didn't it?
Yes,
Charles?
absolutely.
We remembered this when things got tough. We did this in 1892 when Unity was just starting. We'd love to share it, wouldn't we?
We would.
We would.
Boy, would we.
Kind of like the kitchen thing, you know?
I, Charles Fillmore,
And I, Myrtle Fillmore,
husband
husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have, and all we expect to have, to the Spirit of truth, and through it, to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that the said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent with this dedication, in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want without our making any of these things the object of our existence. In the presence of the Christ mind
of
on the
Christ
seventh
Jesus, the seventh day of December,
AD
1892. 1892. Amazing, isn't it?
That's a pretty good and powerful statement. But they say singing is praying twice, and I understand that you also came up with a song or two.
Yes, I think Myrtle came up with this song actually, and it was a tune to an old song we'd learned, all of us, Rock of Ages. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
And Myrtle wrote it Unity language, New Thought language.
We did that a lot, didn't we, Charles?
Yes, we
Changed
did.
the words however we wanted them.
We're going to ask somebody who's not in spirit to go ahead and play and sing that. Greg James.
Burst with praise, O gate of song, flow of voice from sorrow free. Let thy currents pure and strong roll in healing melody, till in one harmonious voice pain redeemed shall earth rejoice. Break thy bonds, O child of mine. Claim the freedom of thy birth. Joy and wisdom shall unite. Health and power claim the earth. Love and peace, one circling sea. Compass man in unity.
Beautiful words. Coming a little closer to present day, can you help us remember how Unity of Charlotte got started?
Yeah, can I say something first, Will? I want to say something about that song and about the fun we had in our ministry.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I want to say what they used to call us. Should I tell them?
Yeah, let's do it.
Papa Charlie and Mama Myrtle. Oh, that was fun. But what I wanted to share with you, I didn't want to take all the credit for writing the songs because I didn't, because you wrote some too, and I wanted to share one you wrote. He wrote this by himself. Healed, healed, healed by love divine. One with love sublime. My life is sweet with joy complete. Healed, healed, healed. He wrote that.
Right. Worked hard. Hard.
So moving forward in time to Unity of Charlotte, what can you tell us about how Unity of Charlotte got started?
Yes, we will. What we're going to talk about a little bit happened while we were looking down from the other side. What happened is we looked around and we saw people in their living room. Charlotte, North Carolina. I looked down there and I saw this. They were praying. And over in the corner, there was one of Charles' books. They'd been reading it. It's like, Charles, come and look. These people are starting just like we did in their living room. And then we watched. And over the 40 years, we've been keeping track of what's been going on. And they started moving around.
A lot.
A lot. In 40 years, they moved many times. They went from the living room to the YWCA, to a fitness center, to a little house on a hill, to a country club, to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, to a community center in Matthews, and then to an Elks Club on Arrowwood Road. A little bit of everything we've lived in 40 years. There haven't been too many things that we haven't. And then what happened is the people in the living room chose some leaders. They had, first of all, Terry Barrett. She didn't stay long. Yundeline Steen. They didn't stay long. I've never been able to find them exactly, but they were there for a period of time. Then Jerry Ballinger came, and then he left. Gervais Phillips came, and when he left, Randolph Wilkinson came, and when he left, Phil Smedstead came. And then when he left, someone else came. I can't remember her name. Do you know who it was? She was here a lot of the time.
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do?
You know
Yeah.
Nancy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes,
it was her.
yes.
Okay.
I remember
I
Nancy.
should have remembered that, don't you think?
Being in spirit does things to the memory, I understand. Tell us, Myrtle, how was it for you to make the transition into spirit? What happened?
Well, you know, I started feeling like the work I'd come to do on this earth was over. I'd completed everything I was sent to do, and I began to believe I had more work to do, but I needed to do it on the other side. So I started sharing this with a few people, and they were saying, "Watch out what you say, Myrtle, that could happen." I didn't pay any attention to them. And when the time came, on that one day, I left the office and I made a point of saying goodbye to everyone. Goodbye, 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 everyone. They wondered, why is she saying goodbye to us? It's Wednesday. And I went home and I got in the orchard, picked some apples, and I went to bed and made my transition.
Very quickly, gently.
And I've been here in spirit ever since.
And you went to the Spirit costume shop.
I did.
Greg James, proprietor.
Thank you, thank you.
Charles, tell us about your statement late in life.
Well, after Myrtle had made her transition, which was very hard and difficult to adjust to, but we did and moved on with unity. But I began to have a dream, a recurring dream. And in this dream, I began to dream about the new Jerusalem coming down from God, a new heaven and a new earth that worked in all of life. And I just had this dream over and over again. And I thought how interesting it was that most religions teach that we go there, somewhere called heaven, so we can be in that place. But it just occurred to me finally that the dream was telling me that the things of Spirit and God can come down into our lives, our everyday lives, into our relationships and our jobs, our health, our finances. And I just had such a tremendous awakening that if we opened up our hearts and willingness, that we can be, as unity, a New Thought community, a catalyst for that to enter in and to come down. And we can live in a new earth and a new heaven.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that is reflected in the Unity video that will be played after the service for those who didn't get to see it Friday night, because there's music, the New Jerusalem music is in there. So asking you to take your spirit eyes and cast them forward, what do you see for the future of Unity of Charlotte?
Well, I have a big vision. And Charles is going to say I'm from another planet, but go ahead and say it and get it over with, and then I'll tell him my vision.
Myrtle, you are from another planet.
You are right. Well, I have this huge vision. It's for the whole unity movement. I see this movement stepping up and becoming the kind of catalyst or the directors or the leaders of bringing the power of love on earth. I see Unity's teaching people how to go to the heart and how to feel that love in our heart, how to know that it's there and how to open it up and share it. And I see the Unity movement leading us as the people on earth into a divine humanity where we all live from this love, the power and the presence that's within us, and we treat each other from that love and take care of each other, take care of planet Earth, and fulfill our sacred purpose. Now I'm going back to the planet I came from.
Certainly, we've always had a vision. All of this began with Myrtle and I really having a vision. And that vision is still alive today in the people of Unity that are living at this time. We know that we live in a time of more complexity, challenges, and difficulty and challenges. But we also see how unity is going to play such an important part in helping people to heal from their wounds, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I hold a vision of seeing a great exodus of people who are going to awaken from the confinements of old dogmas and thinking. And I believe they're going to find such communities such as Unity and the world to have a safe space in which to heal from their doctrines and from their dogmas that has failed them. Because that which they look for is already within them. And that is the message, that unity is going to rise. It concerns me as I look at unity today from the spirit world that actually so few people know of unity. If they do, they think it's Unitarian. And we really need to maybe realize that our future mission is more outreach, more reaching out. I've always been, and you know this, Myrtle, from the beginning, that education, I've always been a person who studied. I studied atoms. I studied all kinds of things. And I do believe that people need to be empowered with spiritual education, that we need to be taught, not just preached at and preached to. So we need to put an emphasis that in the future of unity, there's more emphasis on teaching classes and learning and being able to extend this wonderful truth to those that are ready to receive it.
Yeah, and you know, Charles, I look out from beyond at this beautiful Unity of Charlotte community, and I see a group of people who have come together in a mighty mission statement: to love, to pray, to serve, and to live in spiritual freedom and abundant joy. I see with them with a vision to co-create a better world, which of course that would do, and also clear values that hold us all together, and also an identity statement that calls us right into the transforming power of love. It's all right here. And I see this group coming together and learning that together through the education you mentioned, and then bringing it out into the world wherever we go. We have the possibility, we have the potential now. It's like we're on an edge of something, ready to take a leap into the changing world as leaders.
Excellent.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out from your spiritual chores. We have enough time for a few questions. Anybody have any questions for Charles and Myrtle?
You didn't get a lot of word in edgewise, Charles, did you?
Well, behind every man is a good woman.
He always says the right thing, doesn't he?
Joy Fanning, you had a question?
Myrtle, you made this wonderful discovery, and you shared that discovery so that others could use it. Why aren't other people now using your discovery?
Oh, thank you. That is a good question. I have pondered that question so many times. If we know these things that Myrtle did and how she did them, and we could do them, and she healed a chronic disease, she came into the power of love, why aren't we doing it? Well, I don't want to say that we don't have the time, because we'd have the time if we wanted to, but she took a lot of time, and she was dedicated and persisted for 2 years with her affirmations and her talking to her body. So it could be that, but it could be lack of knowing about it. It could be we're living in a different time. If it doesn't come on a webinar or something, we don't know what to do. Lots of things.
That's a webinar. That's something new.
Oh, that just came to me, Charles. I don't know.
Oh, there you go again.
Oh, I slipped out of spirit for just 1 minute. I'm back. I don't know. There are a lot of answers to that, but wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody tried that out together? And we spent the time on it, getting to love our body as it is and telling it so. Maybe we could do that as education for how we grow in spirit.
Thank you. Bob, you have a question?
Just an observation. For the gentleman sitting there, yes. Could that be called yes, dear, the language of love? Excuse me.
What was the question? You know, I'm kind of old. What was the question?
You're 94 and you sizzle with zeal.
Any other questions? Yes.
So, Will, this question is for you.
Oh my gosh.
So, what's it like interviewing the spirits?
Oh, it's a great pleasure. It's a great honor. It's not often that I get to talk to spirits quite as substantial as these two, with a lot of good works behind them. Usually the spirits that I talk to come into a bottle somewhere. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay.
I have a question. My question is, when did you, I've been to Unity Village, and I'm wondering, when did you go back to developing what has grown into what it is now?
Now, you would remember that more. I don't remember dates at all.
I can't give you the exact date, but it was soon as we recovered from World War II and the Depression and began to see the money start to come in again. So it was around whatever time that was. Do you know, Will? 1945 or something, yeah.
1942.
1942. That came from spirit.
Also came from that great book.
Because that really embodies what you're all talking about, what's there now. It is a place of education, and it is a place, the home of silent unity. And it has the beautiful rose garden where anyone can go and sit. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
And those of you who may have forgotten, that's how Charles and Myrtle looked late in their first time around here. And the retread now looks like this. I think it's an improvement.
We have a lot of good technology over there. Amazing.
Yes.
I really appreciate your writing, Mr. Fillmore. And I know back in the time you talked a lot, in your books about energy and ether, energy, oneness, and the ethers. And at that time, no one knew about quantum physics or anything like that. How were you received when you were talking about the energy and how it is transformed?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you. Because it's very exciting to see now that people are beginning to catch up with this idea of atomic energy, cellular energy. So, really, overall, when I think of when Myrtle and I started all of this, it was such a different time. People weren't very open-minded. People were pretty set in their ways. And it makes me realize that this was divinely appointed, that we begin to reach out and get people interested. But I've always been a person to study. I've always been inquisitive all my life, even as a child. I wanted to know, and I've studied all the religions and all the thoughts. And I think I'm truly what today you would call a visionary. That I understood that there was something, some kind of intelligence that lived in our bodies, that if it was awakened, that it could actually bring health. And then Myrtle brings in the idea that you have to talk to it. You have to tell it to wake up. And putting all that together has just been a very powerful thing for us. But it's taken a long time. I'm sure there were people that thought we were from another planet at that time. But it seemed like God just gave us the right people to be around us, to give us the openness to speak these kind of things. And of course, I wrote the book on the atomic cell thing. So it was, there's always people beyond their time, as many of you are, I'm sure, right here, are, and hold things in you that will become more and more known as time goes on.
Yes.
I know that you started as a prayer group and an education movement in addition to people's churches. When did you become a Sunday morning church of your own? If you can remember that.
Remember it like it was yesterday. Well, on my part, I would say that it just kind of happens. When people start meeting for prayer, and then we decided, well, let's have a couple of hymns to get people into the place, before the prayer. And I think it just took on a life of its own. As far as Myrtle and I, we never intended to try to build another religion, another just church. But the appearance would be, from the world's point of view, that we look like a church. We are a church. But I think in every person's heart that is truly unity, They understand we're just a spiritual community of people who gather together. And that is really the heart of unity, is community.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
You never wanted to be a church, no?
No.
I understand that Myrtle wasn't the only one who was touched by the healing power of Spirit. Tell us about your childhood accident, Charles, and how that was healed through the years.
Well, I certainly had my physical challenges as a very young man. I had an issue with my leg, was hurt very bad. In fact, there's people that didn't even think I would live and make it through the couple of years or so that it took. And I could hardly walk. I just had some homemade crutches that I would try to walk around. But, you know, looking back, it's what stopped me and gave me all that time to study and to read and to prepare myself for what I had no idea what was coming. So it's interesting from the spirit world to look at the bigger picture of things that appear to be so painful and so unjust, like, why would this happen to me, God? But actually, it turned out to be the person that I became in founding this movement was because that when everybody else was working, and in those days, I mean, they worked all the time, I couldn't do those physical things. So I had the time to meditate, to pray, to read, and I realized I was being prepared. But finally, it healed itself, but it left my leg, one leg, a little shorter than the other. But I made it through, and I adjusted to it, as I did to all the different challenges health-wise. But it does give you compassion. It makes you compassionate for other people. And I feel that all of us needs to turn all of our pain and sickness and disease into the gold of compassion, to change it into something that people can feel from us. So I just accepted it as a part of the human experience, and how that we can not lose our faith and our peace. That's the great lesson. And that's been the greatest lesson for us, is when someone did say, as you said earlier, let's not pray about the finances, let's pray for our faith, because all of that will come out of the faith. So let's all remember that. Keep praying, keep the faith. There's not a day that I do not say to myself, Lord, heal my unbelief. Heal my unbelief today.
And with that, we have to say thank you very much to Charles and Myrtle Fillmore for taking a time out from the spirit side of things to be on Meet the Spirit. And be sure you look at Charles's spiritual spats. Until next time, this is Will Balker saying thank you for watching Meet the Spirits here on Unity TV.
Thank you, Will.
It's offering time. Thank you. When I say that, get happy. This is your opportunity to give back to this community. And that's something you should celebrate. Many of you who have talents and things that you can't quite get it all in here, this is one way we can all participate together. I did kind of look over briefly some of the information and statements about our pledges, and it's a little short. It's a little short from the pledges. Some have not even made pledges. Some is a little behind their pledges. So I just want to renew that in us to be sure, because that's all you. I have one word for you: karma. So let's all say our blessing together, offertory blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So prepare your money, and they will receive it